Morning, if we can call to order the February 8th, 2024, our first meeting of the year of the Vision Zero Advisory Committee meeting. Staff, if you could please call the roll for quorum.
At this time, I am only asking those VZAC members attending in person to respond by saying here when I call your name. I want to remind you to unmute your microphones by pushing the button on the base prior to responding. Alternates, please also state your name if you are attending on behalf of a VZAC representative. Bruce Rosenwig,
Present.
Craig Pinder,
Here.
Ted Goodenough, Joan Oliva, Joan Scaria,
Here, alternate Samantha Maroney.
Fadi Nazar,
Here.
Ryan Mugridge,
Here.
JC Beery,
Here.
David Willock,
Here.
Jean Matthews,
Here.
Bruce Guyton, Michael Owens, Christian Santa Gonzalez,
Present.
Jermaine Swaby,
Here.
Eliza Hanson, Missy Barletto is excused, Tracy Phelps,
Here.
Stephanie Thoborn,
Here.
Claudette De Los Santos is excused. We have a quorum, thank you.
Great. Are there any modifications to the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair, the following members are requesting VZAC permission to participate remotely. Michael Owens, please list your reason for attending virtually.
Yes, good morning. We still have low staffing. I don't know if you can see here. I'm pretty much the only one in the office this this week, so I need to be here. So I'm hoping that you guys will allow me to participate virtually. Thank you.
Joan Oliva, please list your reason for attending virtually.
Just being short-staffed again this week.
Christian Melendez Barrios, please list your reason for attending virtually.
It's short staff also.
Ted Goodenough, please list your reason for attending virtually. Ted Goodenough, I believe you're on mute. Ted Goodenough, can you please unmute yourself? Thank you.
Sorry about that. Medical and transportation concerns.
Thank you.
Are there any VZAC members that have objections to allowing these four individuals to participate remotely? Seeing none, and I see Mr. Guyton just arrived. Good morning. So we've approved the participation remotely, and if you could please note their attendance in the minutes. So the next item is 1C on the agenda. Are there, which are the meeting minutes for December 7th, 2023. Are there any changes to the minutes?
We did change the minutes to reflect virtual attendance for Christian Melendez Barrios and Eliza Hanson from Palm Springs.
Does anybody have any? I have a couple of comments. I know I wasn't here, but I just wanted to clarify a couple things. If nobody else has anything. No? Okay. So on the first page where it says Christian Melendez, I think you need to add the last name Barrios, and then under 1C, I believe Jean Matthews was here because she spoke later and nominated me as chair. Thank you. And then also Kyle Berg. I did not see him under the 1C approved minutes, but I believe he was listed earlier at roll call. And if you could correct my spelling of my name as well, I'd appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any other changes? Seeing none? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, excellent.
Aye.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Mr. Guyton. Do I have a motion? Mr. Guyton,
I will need a second as well.
second?
Michael Owens,
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay.
It's okay.
And all those in favor, let's do it again.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, that was unanimous.
Thank you.
Let's get it rolling for gotta learn this new stuff since it's a new year, right? Okay, so the next item are public comments. Do we have any instructions on how to provide public comments are included in the agenda? Staff, have any general comments been received?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. And then the next are comments from the chair and board members. Did any board members have any comments? No? Okay. Bruce?
Yeah, some or maybe all of you were aware of the serious crash that happened a few weeks ago in Gulfstream on A1A. I would just like to urge everyone who may be in a position to speak with people in authority, or if you're a person in authority, to push FDOT to do what they can to, at the very least, add shoulders to the road that goes through most of Gulfstream, and push as hard as you can to get bike lanes, both in Gulfstream, Ocean Ridge, and Manalapan. There is some pretty serious pushback from those towns, local governments. We've been fighting them for years on this. They've actually written letters to our state government in opposition to this. You may be aware that in Gulfstream, there's a pretty nice looking section of Australian pines that by edict have been claimed as protected species. They do happen to be non-native, but there's certainly enough room in the right of way to add bike lanes or a shoulder without affecting them at all. So I was hoping that there would be somebody from FDOT that could give me information as to an avenue to address this directly to the higher ups in DOT. So, thank you.
Thanks, Bruce.
And Madam Chair. Yes, and for the record, that was Bruce R. You just called Bruce, and it's two Bruces.
Oh,
So
thank you.
for minutes.
perfect. Is there something you wanted to respond to on that?
Yes, thank you, Bruce. Brian Rusher, Deputy Director, Multimodal. I appreciate your comments, and we at the TPA have made contact with the new organization that approached us for some information about crashes and crash history on A1A. As part of that, we have also reached out to the FDOT to ask for a formal response if they're going to provide like a crash safety analysis that's going to look at what happened in the crash. We also encouraged, if there's anybody that was involved in the crash, please reach out to the Florida Highway Patrol to provide their statements, as they made us aware that not all of their statements had been collected yet regarding the crash. So I believe that group is going to be before the City of Boca Raton's commission on Monday night, asking for their support and a similar request to A1A to formalize the space in a better way for bike lanes. It's documented that there's a number of instances where that roadway has no bike facility, and the roadway condition is not exactly great, and state laws are very clear. You're to ride single abreast unless there is a roadway hazard, for which time you can temporarily ride to abreast, and the roadway condition is not one that permits a consistent riding habit for either group or individual rides. So we've asked DOT to provide a formal response, and hopefully we'll have that soon.
If I may, the group that was riding two abreast, which is not the way they should have been riding. I know of this group, they do ride very safely, although they were not riding properly this particular time. It would not have made any difference in the way that this woman who was driving the car, it may have not, she may not have hit all six of the riders that she did, maybe four or so. But and again, if there was a bike lane, maybe one fewer rider would have been hit. But the fact that there isn't even a shoulder on this road really creates a hazard, even for single file. The road, the lanes are narrow as they are. So single file, you're riding with a car pretty much right on you. So the bike lanes or a shoulder wouldn't have
Right.
prevented it from happening, but
I don't think that the bike lane is the only treatment that it could have been provided on the roadway. Also, I mean, that is a no passing zone where a pass was occurring. So that is one of the issues that happened on the roadway. I don't know the circumstances of if, she was passing a vehicle that was moving at a slower rate of speed or not. I think that the investigation is still ongoing. So we don't really know. We haven't seen the crash report yet, what the full circumstances of the crash were. But we'll pay close attention to that. There are other treatments that could be done on the roadway, such as center longitudinal striping of the roadway, which would essentially provide kind of like a vibration to the car if you cross the double center line. That would increase driver attentiveness, as well as, that section of roadway is in pretty, I don't want to say in the worst of conditions, but some of the painting is starting to fade. The shoulders that were there or the minimal shoulders that were there are now gone. So, and it is a substandard lane, meaning it's less than 14 feet wide. A car and a bicyclist can't operate safely in the same space. So I think there's more to be said about the crash, and there are others that have occurred since that time. I would encourage the committee to please start bringing the informational items or the administrative items back up for the quarterly crash report so we can start looking at those again. We have one on the agenda today, but we don't give a presentation unless the committee asks for it. So just as another note. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce R. I appreciate that. I think it's important for us to keep bringing those things to the forefront so that we can, as a group, talk about them. And, maybe that's a question for later, but is Gulfstream, have they adopted Vision Zero? So just something for later. Jean.
When FDOT was redoing the road A1A in Delray Beach, I was part of safety as in Floridans and Visions with Jim Smith. I was also on the bike ped committee for Delray. And we gathered tons of petitions. We showed up in meetings in force, but let me tell you, the people who lived on A1A fought tooth and nail. We do not want bike lanes. We do not want shoulders. I mean, now it's just a given. Delray has them, but it was a monumental battle. And the citizens prevailed and we got the bike lanes. And now people say, boy, wish Highland Beach had bike lanes like Delray, because if you're driving on A1A in Highland Beach, I won't pass if there's cyclists on both sides. I'll just wait because they're going 20 anyhow. But it can be done, and Delray did it. But it was a Herculean lift.
Well, you should be aware that starting in the spring, they will be putting bike lanes through Highland Beach. I guess the DOT's plan is from just north of the Boca Inlet Bridge all the way up to Linton Boulevard. I think there's 3 separate plans, and I think the one in Delray is up to Delray is going to go first. And that should be starting in the spring. But it's back in 2008, we had to sue FDOT to force them to put bike lanes in. They were resurfaced. They were doing the Triple R project through Highland Beach at the time, and they ultimately said, yeah, you guys are right, but they're so far along, we'll finish that project, and then we'll make sure that they put bike lanes in the next one, which they didn't do when they did the Triple R project on Lyons Road. But now they've changed the wording of how bike lanes are, absolutely required, more or less, and they're following through on that. So
Just to clarify Bruce's point, there are absolutely 3 resurfacing projects that are moving through where there is not sufficient right of way. They are doing a shared the road treatment, which allows bicycles the full use of the travel lane. So there is a small section north of Lake Worth Road where there will be that instance just north of the golf course as you approach the curve. But otherwise, FDOT has programmed in bicycle lanes. And I think that's important to note that without a consistent facility for all road users on a road where you would expect more than one type of road user, meaning a driver, you're not going to have a consistent riding behavior from any group, or if you don't have a sidewalk, you're not going to have a consistent pedestrian behavior. So it's important that the design of the roadway influences how users are able to use the road, and it provides law enforcement with even greater tools by formalizing the space to go out and enforce against some of the groups that don't follow the rules of the road as well, which I'm sure Bruce would agree. There's marginal numbers of people that do not obey, but provide many people who do like to enjoy A1A in a safe and convenient manner a bad name. So, thank you.
Jean, I'd like to recommend that this committee write letters to FDOT encouraging bike lanes in Manalapan and Ocean Ridge and Palm Beach. Can we do that? This committee strongly recommends, due to safety concerns, that bike lanes be incorporated into the roadway design. And also, I'd love to see the accident reports and have a presentation on those.
So crash reports will probably not be available for quite some time. I don't know how long they take to turn around, but generally we don't see them for quite some time in Signal 4, especially for a crash of this nature. I mean, we're talking 8 cyclists were involved, 6 were injured, 3 were tomahawked. One of which is thankfully surviving, but they have limited brain function. So there's still a lot of investigation that's underway. If the committee wishes to request a presentation, it requires per the bylaws of the committee, they would have to request an agenda item to come forward. The committee is not empowered to write letters on its own. That is the power of the governing board. The committee can make a recommendation to the governing board to request FDOT provide bike lanes either in one specific municipality or to, designate A1A in a formal way. I think that we maybe for too long, we had this policy of we just need a bike lane everywhere on state roads. Maybe that's not the right approach. And maybe it's a different approach where we're on some roads where it's a 6-lane, 8-lane roadway, a bicycle lane might not be the right facility to provide. So if we can think more about like maybe the context of limited right-of-way circumstances where maybe a share the road treatment might be better, because the road is only going to be 10 foot, 11 foot wide in the travel lanes and nothing else permitted. But how this would work is the committee is able to request a presentation from DOT, probably their safety office. It will come at a later time, which they can come in and talk about the feasibility of a bicycle facility in either a bike lane or share the road at a later date to the committee, and the committee can make a recommendation to the governing board to provide that request. So that requires a motion and a second and vote by the committee.
Okay, and when I meant for accident, I didn't mean this accident in specific. You guys used to do an accident report that showed turning movements and all that, and I would read it and it was fascinating to me. And the fact that people are killed in like public shopping center parking lots is astounding to me. It makes me much more careful knowing that. But would this be the point in the agenda where I would make a motion to have this committee recommend that our governing board provide a letter to FDOT urging that bike safety in Manalapan and steps be taken to accomplish that?
I would suggest to the committee, if you would like to have that item, you would request first a presentation from FDOT to get them to come in and have that discussion with the committee first, so that we're all informed about the potential for it. And then the motion would be to make the request to the TPA governing board, rather than this committee specifically. So if you would like, you can make a motion to request TPA staff to see if DOT would be willing to come and do a presentation about A1A, the projects that are coming up, and the potential for bicycle facilities.
I would like to make the motion just as you stated to,
Is there a second? Second by Bruce R. All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
You would like discussion? Okay, Body, let's hold that second.
I think you're trying to make kind of a blanket statement. And, you know, at the county, whenever we're resurfacing a road or there's a new road, we always look for opportunity to add bike lanes. But, you know, to make it kind of a blanket statement, it minimize its relevance. It really need to be relevant to particular roadways, particular sections. Because both the OT and the county, we have policies to, you know, review and add bike lane whenever appropriate. But then, you know, if you just want to make a blanket statement that every road, as, you know, Brian was saying, it may not be appropriate all over the place. Some places, it may not be appropriate to provide the bike lane.
oh, and I would agree with that. I think we start with the FDOT presentation to this board and then we go from there.
Okay, in that case, I'm fine.
But just to clarify, it's related to the serious injury, not just,
Well, I would like, A1A is a great place. It brings a lot of tourism dollars in and to ride. And I think maybe let's get FDOT to talk about all A1A projects from the Broward line to the Martin County line that they have ongoing and explain to us what they're doing.
well, and then also the case study of, you're waiting for information, so this won't be put on an agenda until you get all the information on the
Correct.
crash. Okay,
And
so
we
it'll be a
also-
future agenda.
It will be a future agenda. It will not be in the next meeting, more than likely. We
Right.
do have a presentation already from FDOT. But we will collect the information, look at some of the signal for crash information. We actually already have our team looking at it based off the request from the private group that I had mentioned. So it will come eventually if DOT is willing to come and make that presentation. We will ask at our weekly coordination meeting if we can get someone who provide that information to the committee. And just to be clear, the motion is with respect to all of A1A or specifically just from Broward County to roughly Palm Beach, or do you want all of A1A throughout Palm Beach County?
What do you guys think?
I would say let's address it to Gulfstream, Ocean Ridge, and Manalapan. And then if they come up with a plan that's approved, then that sets sort of a precedent for pretty much, something to follow for all of A1A, something that could be referred back to whenever there's another project anywhere along A1A.
Okay, and then inclusive of the projects that are upcoming as well.
I'm
correct?
sorry?
Inclusive of the projects that are upcoming that we spoke about as well, the three upcoming resurfacing projects.
In my personal, yeah,
Bike lanes.
I would think it would. But in my personal opinion, I've sat in on the meetings and looked over the map of what they're proposing to do in Boca, Highland Beach, and parts of Delray. And that they seem to pretty much cover everything that at least our bike club is looking to have done.
Okay. Motion to request presentation from FDOT regarding Gulfstream, Ocean Ridge, and Manalapan, A1A bicycle lanes and facilities and upcoming projects.
Okay, so. Oh, JC, do you have?
If we could extend it to Palm Beach, because on A1A, there's a few really bad spots.
You mean island of
Yeah.
Palm Beach? Okay. So the request is that it
It sounds
include
like
Palm
it's,
Beach?
can I just recommend, just to make it simpler, to have from Broward County line to the town of Palm Beach, and that kind of encompasses all of the
Okay.
projects that we spoke about,
Sounds
the
good.
3 townships. I don't want to single them out in particular. I think it's important that we bring this in as a larger discussion. I mean, this is a bicycle route. It's not about one particular town and one particular set of trees or one particular, fire hydrant that might be in the way. This is holistically how we can make a corridor that provides for a safe and consistent facility for all users. So I'd venture to guess if we could, we'll craft the motion on the screen here just briefly.
I think that was
hold
well
on.
said.
Yeah. Presentation from FDOT regarding bicycle facilities, upcoming projects for Broward County line to the town of Palm Beach. For bicycle facilities and upcoming projects.
You know what, up to and inclusive of Palm Beach, because we don't want them to stop at the South Palm Beach line.
Thank you.
Okay, got clarification. And we have a motion.
I'd recommend, Jean, if you agree to the motion on the screen.
Yes. I make a motion to request a presentation from FDOT regarding bicycle facilities and upcoming projects from the Broward County line to the town of Palm Beach along A1A. And then I would say inclusive of Palm Beach. Well, is the inlet, the Palm Beach inlet, that's the northern limit of Palm Beach? So,
You could say the Palm Beach Inlet instead of town of Palm Beach.
right, that's what I'd like to do. From Broward County line to the Palm Beach Inlet.
Okay,
Along A1A. Perfect.
Second.
are we good? Okay, so all those in favor say aye.
Can I guess?
Aye.
Second, please.
Aye.
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 Motion.
Who seconded that?
So-
Okay, Bruce. Bruce R. Okay, all right, so that passed for our comments from the board. Do we have any more comments from the board? I have one comment. Exciting news for us. We adopted in our ear-based comprehensive plan amendments in December, and a policy to adhere to Vision Zero. And so we had previously adopted Vision Zero through resolution, but we adopted it in our transportation element so that it lives on. And that we use it as a guideline, and it's not just some passing trend. It's something that we will strive to look at implementing in our town. And I think that's something that, as we talk about more about that, we need to get more municipalities online. Okay, so then, oh, Spotty, you have a comment now?
In fact, I had a comment for Brian. Now requesting crash reports, usually if anything happened within the past 60 days, they usually have to sign like notarized form to request for every single one, unless we have an MOU signed, and we have an issue with our legal team having this MOU signed. I'm just wondering if TPA had that, if you went through that process and now you can get them right away.
We do not. Thank you. We don't have that MOU. We just receive the crash reports whenever they becomes available on Signal 4, which is why I mentioned before that there's a substantial delay in when we'll be able to actually access them. So unless we request the data and specifically pay for it, I don't think that we'll more than likely receive it, or unless that information is shared with us from example, like a bicycle club that just so happens to have that information, but we
Yeah,
don't.
I mean, apparently there's this MOU you can sign with Department of Highway Safety Vehicle.
Mhm.
And if it's signed, then they can give it to you right away.
Mhm.
We're not there. I mean, we've been struggling for a couple of months with our lawyers. We haven't got to that point yet, but hopefully we'll be done.
If you could reach out to us afterwards and provide us a little bit more information, be curious to see if maybe we can look at that information and see if the TPA would be able to facilitate that. We'll be in touch through our liaison.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any more comments? All right, so the next item is the liaison report from Valentina. If you could provide us your update.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and congratulations for the town of Jupiter for passing that Vision Zero policy integrated into the comprehensive plan. That's really exciting. Before getting into my liaison report, I did want to hand it over to Samantha with the City of Palm Beach Gardens. She's going to give an update on what they are doing regarding Vision Zero and Complete Streets.
Thank you. So on January 20th of this year, the City of Palm Beach Gardens held our annual Public Safety Day. And for the first time, we included a pop-up traffic garden in the Public Safety Day. And it was a huge success. It was something that took efforts from several different departments to put together and plan out. But it was a really great opportunity to provide an exciting and fun way for kids to learn the rules of the road, what different signs look like and mean, you know, which side of the road to drive on or to bike on. And there was also some bikes that were provided to borrow from Jack the Bike Man here in West Palm, as well as a giveaway of bicycles. And we received, I think, almost 100 helmets from the Ped Bike Resource Center that we were able to fit and then give away to the kids. So it was a really fun event, and I would definitely encourage anyone, moving forward to plan something similar. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's amazing that you all were able to do that. And I'd like to encourage you all to take advantage of that opportunity since most of you did get helmet fitting certified. You do have the ability to request free materials and helmets from the Pedestrian Bicycle Resource Center from FDOT. So thank you, Samantha, for sharing that. So first item on our liaison report is our Transportation Alternatives Program. This is open, however, it's going to close next week. So if you haven't already requested a pre-application meeting, please do so now because it does close next week. So next we have the Safe Streets Summit that's going to happen February 29th and March 1st at the Intercontinental Miami Hotel. This is a collaborative conference event that we host every year in collaboration with Miami-Dade TPO, Broward MPO, and the Palm Beach TPA. So if you would like to register, you can visit safestreetsummit.org. Next, we have Florida Bicycle Month that's coming up here in March. Very exciting. I'm gonna be doing a presentation later this morning about that and some upcoming activities that are coming up for that. Next, we have the Safe Streets and Roads for All roundtable workshop event that we will actually be hosting at this Vision Zero Advisory Committee, April 4th. So right after the Vision Zero Advisory Committee, we're going to be hosting that workshop to give municipalities and the county and just any agency tips and tricks for applying for this federal grant. So if you're interested in attending, please visit our website at palmbeachtpa.org/SSS4A roundtable. Or you can also just stay in your seats after the VSAC meeting, since it is going to be in this room right after the VSAC meeting. So do encourage everyone here to attend. Next, we have our Vision 2050 Long Range Transportation Plan that is still ongoing, and we still have our transportation survey that is still open to the public. After work, you are all members of the public. So if you would like to make a comment or take the survey, you are more than welcome to. Next, we have the Road to Zero Community Traffic Safety Grants. Applications for that are due February 14th. And then next, we have the FDOT Local Agency Program, also known as the LAP, an ADA subrecipient training that FDOT is going to be hosting at their District 4 headquarters. This is, I believe this is in collaboration with the TPA. But for that, you can register at floridaltap.org. Yeah. Next, we have the AARP Community Challenge Grant. This is a grant that it is available on an annual basis. I strongly encourage you to take advantage of this grant, specifically if you are thinking of doing any quick build or tactical urbanism projects within your jurisdiction. You can apply for that, and applications are due March 6th. Next, we have the FDOT Local Road Safety Program. This is a really good opportunity to apply specifically for any pedestrian and bicycle safety focused improvements. So I would urge you to try and apply for this program. It is due March 15th. And next we have the USDOT Grant Navigator tool. In this Grant Navigator tool, you can access and look at all of the grant opportunities that are available at the federal level. And that concludes my liaison report.
Are there any public comments that we have?
No, Madam Chair.
Does anybody from the board have comments regarding the liaison report? No? Okay, so then the first item is an action item on targets for the federal performance measures. I did have a question on this, Valentina. I did not. Okay, no, I'm sorry, that was the next one. Okay, gotcha. So Valentina, the pedestrian and bicycle coordinator, will present this item. Thanks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just a quick reminder to you all, for this presentation, it will be requiring a motion at the end of the presentation. So just as a quick reminder. So for today, I will be giving you all a brief overview of the performance measures, specifically the safety targets that are federally required. So why performance measures? Well, as I stated, the safety measures are required. This is something that we do every single year. However, although only the safety targets are required, we do provide other safety measures related to our goals and objectives from our adopted 2045 long-range transportation plan, such as multimodal, connected, efficient, safe, and preserve. So these are the 5 safety measures: number of fatalities and that rate per 100 million vehicle miles traveled. Then it's also the number of serious injuries and the per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, as well as the total number of non-motorized fatalities and the serious injuries. So here's a quick history of target setting for the safety performance measures. The TPA adopted 0 in 2018, and then quickly after adopted a TPA Vision Zero action plan in 2019 to commit to eliminating all traffic-related fatal and serious injuries. And then FDOT had a statewide target of 0 in 2018 as well. And then the United States Department of Transportation has a long-term target of 0. So here's a screenshot of the safety performance measures. As you can see there on the screen, fatalities are on the rise. We did see that serious injuries seem to be reducing. However, we are experiencing an epidemic, and this is extremely dangerous for not just our vulnerable road users, but everyone. So here's a graphic showing the fatalities and the vehicle miles traveled. As you can see, although vehicle miles traveled are going up, they are going up at a steady rate. However, our fatalities are superseding that. And similarly, that can be said for our population. More people keep moving to Palm Beach County, so population growth keeps on increasing, although at a steady rate, but our fatalities at an even higher rate. So why the continued rise in fatalities? Well, it's really roadway design. That's the root of this issue. We have high posted speed limits. We have wide roads, long crossing distances that are dangerous for pedestrians, cyclists. So that's really the root cause of the fatalities and serious injuries. And this can be said for human behavior. So as you can see there on the graphic, it's showing that intersection crashes and lane departure crashes seem to be the highest serious injuries for this. However, if you really think about lane departure and tie it with human behavior, we don't really know exactly what caused that lane departure. It could have been the roadway condition. It could have been someone being distracted, whether they were impaired, they were speeding, or they were just distracted. So this does tie back into human behavior, but if we think about the bigger picture, it really is roadway design. And I want to tie that back really quickly, how we can tie human behavior with psychology, right? So we know, or if you don't know, humans, we have two systems. So we have system one, which is more of our intuitive and instinct, automatic pilot side of the brain. And then we have our other side of the brain, which is system two, which is our more rational thinking. So think whenever you're doing a math problem or when you are trying something out for the first time and you really need to concentrate and learn how to do that. But then once you do that so many times, that sort of transfers onto system one and it becomes autopilot. So the same thing can be said when we are driving, right? So when we are driving for the first time, at first we are very, very focused, but since we do it every single day, we're already used to it. So most people, we multitask. And when I talk about multitasking, I'm not talking about texting and driving. I'm not talking about eating while we're driving, but I'm also talking about having not being entirely focused while we're driving. So some people may be thinking of their grocery list or thinking about the errands that they have to run meanwhile they're driving. And if we think about this, the root of why we have those thoughts while we're driving. A lot of people have really long commutes. Some people wake up at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, and they don't get home until 7, 8 p.m. So a lot of people have to multitask in that way and make up their time by doing it while they're driving because they are on autopilot mode. So it really is roadway design that is the root of this issue. So what are we doing about it? Well, at the national and state level, the national level, the United States Department of Transportation and the Federal Highway Administration, they do have a working goal towards zero, but they have also integrated the safe system approach, which is a comprehensive approach of not just focusing on engineering strategies, but also how we can all work together, law enforcement, people in the health industry, educators, everyone working together to eliminate our fatalities and serious injuries. And the same can be said with the Florida Department of Transportation. They have a strategic highway safety plan where on the screen there, they have 5 emphasis areas that they are working towards. And we try to align our efforts at the state level and also at the federal level. So what are we doing about it? The TPA, what is the TPA doing about it? Well, we have draft complete streets policies and draft Vision Zero template policies that we encourage our 39 municipalities in the county to adopt. So far, 6 municipalities have adopted a complete streets policy and 13 have adopted a Vision Zero policy. We are excited that the federal government has this new grant opportunity, the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant, where 7 municipalities have applied for this grant and they have been awarded this grant. One District, Indian Trail Improvement District, and our very own Palm Beach County. They were awarded this grant to create a Vision Zero action plan and commit to eliminating our fatal and serious injuries at the near term and long term. We also have, at the TPA, we also host our own safety events, and we also participate in many events annually, approximately 40 events annually. We also have our walk bike safety audit program where we collaborate with stakeholders, members of the public, roadway owners, maintaining agencies to look at the existing conditions of the road and analyze it and see what we can improve from a pedestrian and bicycle perspective. We also do have a pedestrian and bicycle counter program, and that is available to for municipalities and the county to borrow our counters. So we do have that loan program, and also the TPA is part of the FDOT Pedestrian and Bicycle Safety Coalition. So this coalition is really an opportunity where not just the TPA, but also municipalities and law enforcement, anyone can join this coalition. I'm not so sure about the public, but in terms of agencies and government agencies, they can join this. And within this coalition, it is in alignment with the safe system approach. So they do have separate teams. So for example, the TPA, we are part of the Vision Zero team. There's also a law enforcement team. There's a policy team. There is a communications team that looks at everything and how we can improve our roads for our most vulnerable users. So that is something that we attend every quarter. So next we have our Vision Zero action plan. As you know, we adopted this April 18th in 2019 and updated it in 2021 with our goal to eliminate fatal and serious injuries. And for our Vision Zero action plan, so as you all know, we are a metropolitan planning organization. So because of that, we do not own or operate anything. So our Vision Zero action plan, it's going to look very different from a Vision Zero action plan from a municipality or at the county level, because we do not own or operate. We do not own any facilities and do not operate any services. So we do have 3 actions. We have a policy, funding, and culture action for this. And here's a quick overview summary of where we're at so far for our Vision Zero action plan. The very first one, the TPA is part of the MPO AC, where all MPOs have the opportunity to get together and look at the policies that can be improved. So one of those, it's actually House Bill 317, Senate Bill 258 law that was recently passed, and that's actually automated speed enforcement within school areas. I actually do know one municipality that has implemented this already, the city of Jacksonville. They implemented this already. So if you're interested in implementing this within your own jurisdiction, we can talk more offline and share that resource. So next we have policy action 1.3. The TPA is developing a speed management study or a speed management plan. That scope is underway. And really what this is we are trying to find the appropriate target speed for our roads to try and reduce the posted speed limits. So we are looking forward for that. Next, our funding option 2.1, the TPA has worked with FDOT and Palm Beach County to apply leading pedestrian intervals at the Atlantic Avenue and Homewood Boulevard intersection, as well as the Southern Boulevard and Parker Ave intersection. And actually, one of those locations that came about from a request that we received from a resident that came from our public comment map. So we do encourage everyone to provide their input and insert any comments that they have, because we do bring that to the roadway owners and maintaining agencies. So we were very pleased to see that happen. And here are some major updates as it relates to policy documents. So the very first one is a federal government, the Manual on the Uniform Traffic Control Devices, also known as the MUTCD. So this is actually a really big deal. So this was recently updated this year. The last time it was updated, I believe it was in 2009. So it's been a while. And with this new update, there's some new criteria on there. There's on the screen there. I have a summary of a few of the changes that were made or things that were added. And the Florida Department of Transportation does have 2 years to adopt the MUTCD. They have not adopted it yet. So we are looking forward to see that go through. And similarly, at the state level, the Florida Department of Transportation has 2 very important documents: the Florida Design Manual, the FDM, and the Traffic Engineering Manual, the TEM, that they update on an annual basis. So for this FDM on there on the slide, I just have a quick screenshot of one of the criteria that was added, which is an example of sidewalk level bicycle lane. There's also language added for guides as it relates to providing bicycle and pedestrian facilities at interchanges and at intersections. So again, this is a screenshot of the safety performance measures. Fatalities are on the rise. So it's good that we are keeping track of this. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to recommend adoption of the safety targets.
Madam Chair, I have a question, if I may.
Go ahead.
And I can actually be provided the answers offline, but out of curiosity, I wrote down a couple of things because my mind is curious. And it might have been answered in your presentation, and I might have missed it. The fatalities on the rise. Who determined it was the roadway design that is the culprit? If you don't know it right now, you want to answer it later, you can. The other question is, how was it determined? Were there different roadway designs studied? Just out of curiosity, and you can answer it offline if you like.
Yeah.
Or if you know it now, you can answer it.
Yeah, I would say there are definitely statistics and data out there that does show that roadway design is a clear issue for the rise of fatalities and serious injuries, specifically also for our most vulnerable road users. But we can definitely talk more offline.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Before we do that, are there any public comments?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. Fadi, do you have a?
Show the graph that shows the fatalities, and at the end of it, I think you had some dash point.
Can we bring
Showing
that
kind
up
of
on the?
decrease in fatalities. Could you talk about that? And why would the design be a factor if the road has been existing for the past 10 years? And suddenly we have an increase in fatalities. Maybe some other factor may play.
So Fadi, I'm sorry, can you repeat that question? I didn't really understand.
Can I show first, I think, the graph that you had?
So this graph or?
No, the one that shows the fatalities. Yes. The end of it, I think for 2023, you have dash points. Would that mean that you had a decrease in 2023?
So 2022 and 2023, that data it's not fully developed yet. So that's why there's a hyphen on there. Because it hasn't been completed yet. So we really don't know the exact numbers for 2022 and 2023. I believe December of this year, we will see the real numbers for 2022. So until then, I am not able to provide you the accurate numbers for that.
So what you have right now is a draft number.
Correct.
Because my understanding for fatalities, they focus on it first and they summarize it first before they do any other data. So it's probably close to whatever 2023 will be, showing a decrease in fatalities. Again, just my opinion at this point. The other one is, I think, the same question. I mean, you had sudden rise in fatalities, which I know happened after COVID. A lot of people staying home, putting their frustration, the way they drive. You can drive around, see a lot of donuts and stuff. So the roads have always been there. So if you have sudden spike in fatalities, it may not be due to road design, maybe due to some other factors.
Yeah. There have been a lot of roadway widening projects and a lot of a lot of roadway widening projects that have been implemented since then. And human behavior does play a role in that. But I think Brian would like to speak on that.
Sure. So just to clarify, the reason why that dashed line is there is because, as Valentina mentioned, we don't have the full data set for 2023 yet, but that's the data that we have available. It likely will go up. There's about a month of reporting that's missing from the 2023's preliminary data. So you'll probably see a spike. We usually have about 8 fatalities in the December timeframe. It's a higher number as we start to increase in seasonal population, more people on the road, more mixing of people. So higher than other ones. And I think that there's a conversation in the world about, and literally worldwide, about how we do design as part of one of the larger conversations in how we approach safe systems. So it's a Swiss cheese model, right? Like the Swiss cheese has holes everywhere in the cheese, and if the design fails, there's other safeguards that are in place, such as enforcement, such as safe road users, such as safe vehicles. I think that for what it's worth, there is a recognition that even if there might be other attributing factors, our roadways are very forgiving for motorists, which is great. It helps to provide safety amongst a lot of larger road, a large base of the population and how they're choosing to travel. There's a conversation going on at the Pedestrian Bicycle Safety Coalition about the drop in serious injuries and the increase in fatalities, specifically among ped bike users, and a conversation about whether those fatalities are just whether those serious injuries are just being replaced with fatalities. So I think it's a mixture of things. Roadway design is one of the largest factors in how we humans interact with the roadway, as Valentina was alluding to. The different parts of our brain operate in different ways. And if we are prescribing a roadway which is incredibly forgiving to motorists, they might not be as inclined to pay attention to certain things on the road. As I'd mentioned before, longitudinal stripes on A1A might make a driver pay much closer attention to a passing zone, or if they're making an attempt to do a pass, or they're inattentively driving in an area which is unlit. Those types of roadway treatments make a driver more attentive. And so there's many elements that we could talk about. I think the emphasis areas that we have in Palm Beach County, the top 5 are lane departures, intersections, pedestrians and bicyclists, aging drivers, and the 5th, I believe, is distracted driving, but it's 5th. So when it comes to the roadway design, we have a lot of work to be done in how we go about how we use our streets, but it's only part of the system in the safe systems approach. We also need political commitment. We need safe vehicles. We need safe road users. We need better education. As a holistic approach to how we reduce serious injuries and fatalities.
No, I mean, I fully agree. It is one factor, but not the only factor.
Thanks, Fadi. Tracy? Okay. Okay, Jean?
What improvements are proposed at Atlantic and Homewood and Southern and Parker?
Yeah, so that was a leading pedestrian interval that was actually already applied. I believe Fadi already worked with his team to apply it. So, yep. And a leading pedestrian interval is really, it gives pedestrians a 10-second head. Yeah,
Oh, so there's like an
Head
all
start.
red is what you're saying.
I think Fadi would like to. Can you please use your mic?
4 to 7 seconds. Before the other phases get the green. And that will allow them to establish themselves in intersection, they'll be much more visible.
One thing I will say in Atlantic and Homewood, it's right by my house, and people take a right turn on red. They don't even slow down, and there's a bike lane there, and they zip around that. So no right turn on red or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, the right turn on red, they can always make the turn on red. This is more about giving a pedestrian, the walk signal, and all the other signal will be red. So it helps maybe other than just right turn on red.
Right, and there's a High Point there, which is an over 55 community, and there's a church there. So it's a really good intersection to choose.
Okay. Okay, David?
That was my question. I was going to ask about the LPI, so.
Jermaine?
Good morning, everyone. So I think a big part of it as well is just general public education and strategies to pretty much outreach so that we could kind of create awareness to the public, such as what the City of Palm Beach Gardens did with regards to the education of the younger kids. Just even walking this morning, almost witnessed a pedestrian being hit. Just walking across the street with their headphones in, on red, not looking both ways, and just a general experience walking and seeing someone at night in full black, pushing a stroller that is full black. You're unable to see anything, and just wondering if it is that they themselves have the full knowledge to equip themselves for their personal safety. So I think outreach is a big part of it as well too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to say that humans will make mistakes both when they are driving, when they are walking, when they are cycling. We will all make mistakes for whatever we are doing. However, yeah, it's like what I said, the root of the issue really is the roadway design, how we are designing our roads. So.
Any other questions, comments? I think it's easy for us to say road design and all these other factors, but it's also a matter of roadway design can be changed. It's a physical thing. It's not that hard to change it. We just have to make an effort to change it. And I think that's why we say roadway design, because human factors can be subjective. And especially with the world around us, what we can do physically can then dictate the behaviors we create while driving, riding our bikes, walking. So I think it was I think in my, understanding, roadway design is a major factor, but so are the others. The right turn on red, I mean, that's an issue everywhere. I like the idea of having flags personally. You walk across the street and you pick up your flag and you put it in the bucket. It's kind of fun. And but it really makes people aware. That's what people need to, it's all about being respectful and not so much in a hurry. So Fadi,
Yeah, I just want to add one point. I mean, when I was reviewing a lot of fatal crashes, especially with pedestrian, a lot of them happened late at night after 10 or maybe 3 or 4 in the morning with someone crossing mid-block, probably intoxicated. So yeah, road, I mean, design is a factor, but there's so many other factors, especially when it deals with pedestrians.
great. Okay.
I would just encourage everybody to please, if you haven't got, raise your hand if you have a Signal 4 account.
A what?
Oh,
What?
okay. Raise your hand if you have a Signal 4 account.
Oh.
Signal for
Right.
analytics.
So this is the program where you can go in and you can evaluate crash reports as a municipal partner. It's not available to private groups, but I would strongly encourage each of you to please start pulling some of the serious injury and fatality crashes for your roads and start looking at some of the things that are being reported. Because as Fadi alluded to, there's a lot of information out there about, you know, the types of crashes, the circumstances that they're happening on. But if you look at our ped bike crash report for this quarter, I think it's like 70% of the roadways where the pedestrian and bicycle fatalities are happening are on arterial roads, where theoretically this is where most of the traffic is happening. And if we do pedestrian and bicycle safety improvements, those safety improvements will roll down to vehicle motorists. So we have a strong emphasis on using the data and making sure that we are proving in our work that the improvements are going to benefit the communities that are out there. And I think it's important to reflect on the data and to look at the data. As I'd alluded to before, the top 5 factors for crashes in Palm Beach County: lane departures, intersections, pedestrian, bicyclist, aging drivers, and distracted drivers. So the first 3 emphasis areas are related to design.
Okay. Mr. Goodenough. You have a comment or
I
question?
I don't have a question, just a quick comment and about trying to cross one of these intersections with a blindfold on and using a white cane. I think that we need to give more attention to, yes, roadway design is important, but we have to change the attitude of the people behind the wheel because they're just too busy behind the wheel to be paying attention. And just like with a white cane, Madam Chair, the flag, people will get used to it and start ignoring that as well. That's all.
Thank you. Bruce G.
To staff, you might have already done this, but could you send me information of how to start the Signal 4 account?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
We'll provide it to the committee.
Okay. Craig?
Okay, I just wanted to echo on the Signal 4 account. In my previous role at the city of Fort Lauderdale, when I developed, along with staff, a roadway improvement plan for a neighborhood, there was a lot of discussion and a lot of complaining from the neighborhood about all the crashes experienced on a particular corridor. But what we were able to find out was that, unfortunately, most of the people who lived within the neighborhood, those are where the crashes were coming from, the residents, the vast majority. It was a very popular cut-through street, but even then, over 50% of the crashes were with the residents. So that really helped us with educating people and letting them know that it isn't just people cutting through their neighborhood as well.
Thanks, everybody. We have any more comments, or we ready to make a motion? Any further discussion?
Bruce, can you please turn on your mic for us?
Oh,
Can you please turn your mic?
This is Bruce G. I move to approve the targets for federal performance measures item.
we have a second?
I'll second.
Craig, second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? So Vision Zero. And passes for our adopting targets for 2024. One thing that I would like to just mention, can you check your whereas clauses? Okay, you're welcome. All right, so the next item is, we have information items, and Nathan George, the Long Range Transportation Coordinator, will present this item. I didn't see this in our packet. So the Long Range Transportation Plan?
Complete ignorance on that being left out. It is posted on our website, so if it was not in the meeting packet, I can point you there very easily.
That was an error. Thank you for pointing it out.
All right, I was interested. So if we could get it, I guess if you could just send us a little link to it, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, you'll actually see a link during this presentation, so. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so I'm Nathan George. Just to reinforce who I am, Long Range Transportation Plan Coordinator here for the agency. I am here to talk to you today about the 2045 LRTP. I am still working on the 2050 LRTP, so I promise you that we're working on both efforts concurrently. This is a very exciting part of our process as we're bringing these amendments forward to you for adoption. And today's an informational item, so we're just presenting for you the first review. It's really an opportunity for us to improve the process through these amendments that will help inform the 2050 plan. So it's actually been a really great process. And we're talking about amendment number 3 today to the 2045 LRTP. So I mentioned that we recently did this. Most of you were on the committee when we brought the amendment 2 last year. It was adopted in October, and that was a financial update. So basically, our long-range transportation plan is the document that sets forward our policy as TPA. Here's where we plan to make our investments. And then over time, as we actually get these projects that are way out into the future start getting programmed, they start get dollars from the state. We need to do a reconciliation process. So that amendment number 2 is really reconciling the TIP and the STIP. So the state's plan and our financial plan, the Transportation Improvement Program, and then redemonstrate fiscal constraint. So expenses and revenues match. So that's what we did last time. This time is really just a process to incorporate any local projects, those that are not funded by the federal government or the state, but you as your municipalities, your agencies are sponsoring those projects and getting them funded. So that's what we're here to talk about today, incorporating those projects in this update. By incorporating those projects, we also demonstrate TPA support. So if we have that dialogue and TPA at the board level disagrees with including a project, so it's really, once it gets into the plan, that demonstrates TPA supports these projects from a policy perspective. In the 2045 plan, for those of you who have not cracked the seal on that document in a little while, there's a section called the local prioritization. That is a funding table primarily made up of county projects. You'll see we're incorporating some local projects with this update, but it's really, these are the projects that are identified as regionally significant. They are planned to be delivered with local funds, at least at the time that that document is adopted. So state or federal funds have not been applied to those projects. They can subsequently receive federal or state funding later in the process, and then we go through that reconciliation process. And TPA concurs that those projects provide regional benefit. I'm highlighting regional because we're not talking about neighborhood streets getting a sidewalk or a bike lane being done behind within a gated community. These are projects that will be impactful for the region. The goal of this update is really to support our locals as they're pursuing federal discretionary funds. So I included here the Boca example. This is a project that was in our LRTP. It received a federal grant, a discretionary grant of $16.4 million. So would that project have happened had it not been in our LRTP? Would have been harder to get those funds, and the project probably happened a lot faster because they had a large infusion of cash to get it delivered. So that was a really exciting opportunity that we can snapshot from the 2045 plan of that success. Planning consistency is incredibly important for locals as they're pursuing discretionary grant opportunities. And I included a direct snapshot out of the 2024 Notice of Funding Opportunity for the RAISE grant program, which is it used to be called Tiger or Build, So this is that program that does a really great bike ped and other type of improvements. It's one of the more flexible programs that the federal government uses. The highlight in this snapshot is that if you want to apply for a grant funding program like that, your project needs to be included in the MPO's plan, potentially even in a state plan, because that shows concurrence. That shows that as a local, you're collaborating with your regional partner or with your state to make sure that that project, everybody agrees, we need to carry this forward. That demonstrates that if the funding goes in, it's probably going to get done. That's what the federal government's looking for. If you don't have the project in the plan and you want to pursue it, the statement in here says you should be working with your MPO and we would provide a letter. Here's how we plan to incorporate that project into our plans. So it shows that support. Otherwise, it could become difficult, or the federal government may say no, simply because that coordination has not happened between parties. So it's really important to have that dialogue and get those projects into the MPO plan, in your case, TPA. So I highlight for you the 4 projects that were submitted through the, we notified committees a couple of months ago and worked with everybody to get these projects submitted. So we've had 4 submissions that we are proposing to incorporate. Again, this is an informational item. If we hear from anybody between now and when the next set of agendas go out for March committee meetings, we can brief everybody and try and incorporate any updates. But right now, these are the only 4 planned changes. The first is one of those federal discretionary, so I'm sorry, I'll back up. The first is a Fern Street extension. This is a proposal from West Palm Beach to complete Fern Street across the SFRC, the SFRTA rail. So it would complete a small missing link, but provide a complete 4-lane connection between Australian Avenue and Tamarind Avenue. So pretty transformative project if it gets done. It's they have committed a local, their local funding amount so far, 3.8 million. These are shown in thousands, just to highlight. The other point that I want to highlight here is that every project that we're bringing forward in these amendments does have local funding. So any projects, any ideas that don't include local funding are still a need or a desire, but they aren't a project until they have funding. So it's just another highlight. So that's the first project. Second one is the West Palm Beach on the Rise. This is an example where the federal government did grant discretionary award for a project that was not included in our plan. We're incorporating it for that consistency now after the fact, but that does show that you can still be successful trying to get outside funding through the federal government. It just could be a little bit more difficult depending on what you propose. So that's the West Palm Beach on the Rise. It's in the Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard area, a number of neighborhood improvements. I'm not going to walk through all of them, but there are some details there. That is an awarded raise grant from last year's cycle. So you've probably seen that in the news. It's been hit on in the Post. And Pete Buttigieg, the Director of Transportation, came down to celebrate that, I believe, last month. So a lot of excitement around that project. 2 other projects that we're incorporating. One is being added. The other one, we're primarily just updating project information. So the addition is the George Bush Boulevard over the Intercoastal Waterway. It's a bridge replacement project that the county is currently working on design, or has funds at least attributed to the design of that replacement project. And then the second is just an update. So Palm Beach Lakes at the Florida East Coast Railroad, or the FEC rail corridor, to rehabilitate that bridge. Primarily financial update for that because that project was included in the prior plan. Here's a map showing you where those 4 projects are located. Again, 3 of them are primarily in the what I'd call the downtown West Palm Beach area. That George Bush bridge replacement project is down in the Delray area. So that's where they are in the world. And so here's the process that we're undertaking. We're approaching this as an amendment, even though these are local projects. We want to make sure to give that full opportunity for public review and comment, committees to review, and then we'll come back next month to do the adoption process. So we posted these materials February 1st for public review. That's available on the website. As I mentioned, if you go to this website, the backup material that would have been included in the agenda is posted there. It's just a couple of pages that show the updated table and a summary of the changes. We're here this month presenting to all of the boards, or the committees and the board, this first review. And then next month, we'll do a second review for that recommendation to approve and adoption at the March 21st board meeting. That concludes the presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Are there any public comments on this item?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, so we'll go to the board now. David?
I was just curious, it identified 2.5 railroad crossings and were going to be removed for one. Like, how do you have a half a railroad crossing?
Good question.
It's a good
That was
question,
my
and that
question.
came up yesterday as well, so.
Oh, did it? I didn't even hear
Yeah,
it. But
folks were interested in where the rail crossings were, and I listed, or I don't believe we listed the.
hopefully
crossings
it doesn't go halfway
to
across and
cross.
stuff.
So that's a crossing that's just south of Okeechobee that has like a direct access, and I forget the name of the road, but it's the first intersection south of Okeechobee on Parker. And it has a full access intersection with a slip lane, so they're gonna close the slip lane that crosses over the railroad track, and then you just drive to the intersection and make your right turn there.
Okay,
that-
so it's only one direction.
Yes.
Okay, I get it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other? Are we going to have additional information? I know you said you were going to send us the link to these so we can review it for next month. But is West Palm going to do, I mean, it looks like it's predominantly West Palm. Are they going to do any presentation or go over their projects? Or are we going to have any specifications? I guess my question is, I'm curious what these projects are and what are, specifically, not just the any designs that they're showing conceptually.
Yeah, we have not requested that they make any presentations for inclusion. These are local projects that are in their capital budgets, so we would be including them if there's concurrence by committees and board, including them in this plan update. It's still on those communities to deliver the projects. If they, we're primarily incorporating as a means of support if they go after federal grant opportunities. That's the, primary need to incorporate the projects at this time. Any other projects after this year, those should be in our local call for projects, and we'll incorporate any that, rise to that same threshold in the 2050 plan.
I guess my question is, can we get them or get copies of what they are? Because, and the reason why I'm saying that into this board is because I think it's important for us to understand what others do. There might be something innovative, something that we might want to adopt ourselves. And I like to see those kinds of solutions so that, not to pick at them, but to understand what their local initiatives are, and maybe we have something in common.
Yeah, I don't know the correct answer. That's something I would take back. I'll ask Brian to speak to this.
So if we are to present that information, I think that we can request West Palm provide either a few slides that we could present on that describes it purely from an informational purposes perspective, as you alluded to, just so you can learn from it and see what they're doing. I don't know if the committee is in a position to make a recommendation on the implementation of those projects, but you're more than likely wanting to provide some commentary, maybe directly to the city of West Palm Beach as they go through implementing this project. As the RAISE grant specifically is kind of a defined scope, as well as other projects that are, a little bit more in flux. I think the Fern Street has some money attributed to it already, which is great. We hope that that project can move forward and gets the permit. It would hopefully it could be a dramatic reliever for other roadways such as Australian, Okeechobee, Banyan. But if we were to bring those forward, we can ask the city of West Palm Beach for some additional information, or maybe put a slide or two in showing some of the information. But I'd venture to guess it's up to the city if they're going to come and present, or Palm Beach County to present about, for example, George Bush Boulevard Bridge.
Yeah, I would just like to see the designs. I don't need, personally, I just want to see what it is. That's all.
Yeah, I'll say that, the challenge we're going to run into with that request is that they are locally funded projects, and we really have no authority
No,
beyond
understand.
including or not including. So,
Just information.
yeah. I would say maybe the easiest way for us to address this would be to request information and include that in the backup materials next
Thank
month.
you.
That's probably the fastest way.
Yeah.
Because we do have some information from each of
Exactly.
the applicants, minus the county. I'll have to work with you guys on that.
I'll make a note to facilitate that as well.
Thanks.
Great, thank you. Okay, so the next item, anybody else? Can move on to administrative.
No, I just want to
Jean.
point out, as a grant writer, I cannot tell you the times I have to do policy in our zoning code or policy in our comp plan, and having it identified in a regional plan. Almost every grant asks you, is it identified?
Yeah, and I didn't get a chance to do this yesterday, but I will give a plug to the DOT Navigator. It has some really good tools if you're planning to pursue grants. They actually put out a checklist recently. It's not just about, oh, I have a desire and I can fill out the form. There are a lot of checks that they include, and that checklist will tell you if you're positioned well to pursue a grant opportunity, so covering things like, do we have right of way? Have we accounted for the cost of utilities that may be non-participating? So they go through some very detailed items that you should be considering as you're looking forward to those potential funding opportunities. So definitely plug DOT Navigator as a tool to help you as you're considering where to secure funding. All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Administrative items, 4A.
Madam Chair, if I may, I'm sorry. I think we have one more informational item.
Oh,
B, Florida Bicycle Month.
did I miss that? Totally.
It's on the same
I
page.
am so rusty. I'm sorry. What is going on with me? I was all rushing to get through. Okay, so the next item, Florida Bicycle Month.
So now on a more positive note, Florida Bicycle Month. So this is coming up, Florida Bicycle Month during March. And to serve as a quick reminder to you all, if you're not familiar with it, Florida Bicycle Month is really an opportunity to showcase the many benefits of using a bicycle, educating the public on the bicycle state laws, and showcasing the many benefits of protected bicycle facilities, or how to design protected bicycle facilities. So here are 4 different ways of how you can get involved for Florida Bicycle Month. The very first one is to adopt a policy. The TPA does encourage all 39 municipalities to adopt a proclamation for Florida Bicycle Month, as well as the county. In the backup, you should have received a template proclamation that you can use for this effort. So we do encourage you all to adopt that. We also have some events coming up. We have a webinar, our annual TPA bike ride, and we also do encourage everyone to host their own Bicycle Month event. So in the screen before you, you'll see a list of all of the agencies that have adopted a proclamation for Florida Bicycle Month last year. That was a total of 18. For this year, our goal is to get at the very least 20 agencies to adopt a proclamation. So again, that is included in the backup, the template. If you would like to modify that language, please feel free to let me know, and I would be more than happy to help. And providing this designation for March for Florida Bicycle Month really helps to promote and raise awareness on bicycle safety and just promote a healthier, more sustainable mode of transportation. So on the screen before you, you'll see some flyers of some activities and events that were held in the past. The city of West Palm Beach typically hosts a Bike to Work Week, and Bike to Work Week is actually a nationally recognized event during the month of May for National Bicycle Month. So they actually did take the initiative to take that event during May and use it for Florida Bicycle Month in March. So the TPA will be collaborating with them and participating in their Bike to Work Week events. We also heard from the village of Palm Springs and the town of Lake Park that they'll be hosting some events. So if your municipality or agency is planning on hosting any events for Florida Bicycle Month, please do let us know so that we can spread the word and get more people to participate. So here's a list of all of our Florida Bicycle Month events for the TPA. The very first one is on Tuesday, March 12 at 9 in the morning. We'll be hosting a safe bicycling webinar. And I will be presenting on all of the benefits of using a bicycle, educating the public and everyone on the bicycle state laws, and just providing any resources when it comes to bicycle safety. Then the next day, Wednesday, March 13th at 2:45 p.m., the TPA is collaborating with Lake Worth Beach CRA and Safe Kids Palm Beach County to host a helmet fitting event along Lucerne Ave to target the students at Lake Worth Community High School and provide them with some free helmets and some free bicycle safety educational pamphlets and materials. Then at the end of March 29th at 8 in the morning, the TPA will be hosting its annual bicycle ride in West Palm Beach in collaboration with the city of West Palm Beach. So please save the date for that. We do not have the details for that yet, but be on the lookout if you are if you have subscribed to our newsletter, or if you would like to stay up to date on our website, you can go to our website at palmbeachtpa.org/events. And that concludes my presentation. I can take any questions at this time.
Are there any public comments?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. Bruce G.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question to staff. Do you have a relationship with the Municipal League in regards to presentation, allowing you to come and present to the Municipal League? Because as you know, all of the municipalities, well, I say all, I know at least 95% are members of the Municipal League. And I think that would be a good venue when you're trying to promote things to the different cities, along with everybody individually.
The League of Cities, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, the League of Cities. Yeah, I was going
Oh.
to say I'm
Oh,
not
back in
familiar
the
with
days when I
Municipal
was
League.
council, it was the
Okay.
Municipal League of Cities.
Yes.
But yeah,
Um,
League of Cities. Yeah.
Yes, I know that our chair, Mayor Reed, is part of the League of Cities, and I think also Councilmember Drucker from the city of Boca Raton is part of the League of Cities. So I think we have, yeah, but I think
Yeah,
Brian can
but
speak
I'm sorry, but my question is staff, like you
staff.
have a relationship with them. So when you have projects that you want to promote to the different cities, that would be a good venue to establish a relationship
Okay.
with them. That was my suggestion.
We haven't made the presentation to them in the past, but if you'd like to make their introduction to have us come and make a presentation and get introduced and put Florida Bike Month forward as an effort, we'd be happy to do so.
Yeah, I just think that's a good venue to promote your activities. That's the only thing I'm saying.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
It is a good venue. Michael Owens.
Yes, hi. Quick question. I was just wondering, the language speaks to municipalities, and I was wondering if there's any sort of, does this, prevent, like, say, school districts or CRAs or whatever to support Florida Bicycle Month? Obviously with the school district, we have a lot of bike riders to schools, and I know this whole thing is basically for, physical activity and et cetera for residents. I was just wondering if there's any sort of language that it could be, I guess, changed, or if it's possible for, like, say, the school district to support Florida Bicycle Month.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I can help you with that. And actually Bruce, with the bicycle club in Boca Raton, him and his team, adopted a proclamation last year. And, the bicycle club is not a government agency, so anyone can adopt a proclamation. So absolutely.
Okay.
Bruce
All right, well, I'll be in touch too.
Or Ross, I'm sorry, Bruce R.
Michael, if you put it forward, let us know. We might come out. Because I don't believe we've had
Okay.
the school district pass a resolution before, and be happy to be there.
Okay,
If we
I'll
can.
be in touch.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. One of the things that, we Jupiter, we did our proclamation, our first proclamation, probably a few years back. But since then, it's like the proclamation becomes this impetus to do events and now I'm trying to gear up. I'm bothering everybody in the town to see, what are you doing? What are we already doing? Can we coordinate? What can we do together as bicycle month? So that's like the first step. So if you're already doing it, then start sending your emails out now. And then in March, we can talk about what all the good things we did to help promote our committee and support the TPA in our region. So good stuff. Do you have any more comments? Okay, so now I can go on to the administrative items. So these items 4A through D are informational. There's no staff presentations unless someone from the committee requests a presentation. Are there any public comments on any of the?
No, Madam Chair.
Are there any requests for, there's some crash data in here and there's some, the C is the crash report. So Jean, I know you were looking for some of that, so it's in here as well. Our next meeting is March 7th. We'll all have I got our proclamation on our council agenda coming up. So I encourage you, super easy. I just asked our clerk to do it and gave them this and they did it. So it's really not much work except one email if you don't do it. So do we have anything else? And if not, our meeting's adjourned. Thanks, everybody.